How's it going, everybody? Hope you're having a wonderful day. Today is another mod day for the 4th Gen Camaro. And what is that mod? It's in this box. Get right back and I'll show you what it is. Now, what it is, I'm going to hold off on telling you that for just a second. I'm going to show you the part number. It is from BMR Suspension. That's the part number right there. And this is for, I forget what year it's for, but I'll put it in the video. But it fits mine, so that's why I have it. And let me show you what's in this box, and then I'll explain why and all that good stuff. Alright, packing material. Instructions. Yep. I think that's just more packing material. Well, I got long arms, huh? Yep, more packing material. Well, we don't need all that, so let's throw all that back in the box. Alright, I get tired, so I'm going to start ripping it open. Now, what it is, nice, red, shiny lower control arms. There's one of them. Comes with grease fittings, and I'll get into that later also. It's got the polyurethane bushings in it. Alright, like I said, it's a tubular lower control arm by BMR. I ordered these from Summit Racing, and I'm kind of bummed because I didn't even get a sticker or the grease that they want you to put on here. That's okay, no big deal. Now, why lower control arms, you may be asking? Let me show you. Now, right about now, you may be asking, why am I putting lower control arms on my car? Do I need them? Absolutely not. No, I don't. Nobody really needs them unless you do a lot of racing. Because what happens, let's just walk through it. Car manufacturers have to find a fine line between control and ride quality whenever they manufacture and develop a car. So what happens on these cars, a lot of times it'll be just enough to get you what you need without being full bore race ready. And what I mean by that, the ones that are on this car, and I'll be in certain pictures as I talk, are stamped. In other words, they go into a big machine, they have dies set up, they're stamped, which a lot of force comes down and pushes it into the form, the shape that they want, and typically the bottom of it is left open. Now, you can go back and weld these. You can do what's called boxing them in, but that's looks tacky, and why do it when you can get something like this? I got these from Summit Racing, and I'll put the info and everything in the description so you'll know where I got them. They're not really expensive, 80 bucks I think for a pair of them, and they're solid. I forget what gauge they are, made out of metal, but they're solid, they're real stiff, they're real heavy. And what it does, it prevents wheel hop whenever you get on the car real hard, like during a burnout or taking off at the drag strip or anything like that. And if you've never seen wheel hop, it can be pretty violent. I mean, it shakes the car, it shakes the hood, it about shakes the rear end out of the car, if you want to be honest. I mean, it just sits there and bounces all over the place, and it's just a very rough experience. So, but they have two types, and I'll show you here in a second a little thing of why there's two types. But in those two types, there's also a couple variants. Now, I have the ones with the polyurethane bushings. I'm getting a stiffer control arm. These are rear lower control arms, just so you know the name of it. I'm going to be getting a stiffer ride, but it's not going to be real noisy because it has the polyurethane bushings, which are better than the factory rubber ones. The other type are adjustable, and the reason they're adjustable is twofold. If you've got a car and your rear end isn't perfectly straight in your car, and I'll show you how to check in a few minutes. If it's not perfectly straight, when you put these in, even though they're new and everything, your rear end is going to be kind of cockeyed. So you have the adjustable ones that will allow you to get your rear end back straight. So number one, you don't wear out tires. Number two, it performs better, it rides better, it steers better. But also in drag racing, you may want to put a little bit of preload in your suspension, and you can actually do that with your lower control arms. Raise it up a little bit and loosen the bolt, back it out, run it in, whichever way you need to go. Tighten the bolts back down and then let the car back down, and that will actually create a little bit of preload on the rear suspension. Now for everyday driving down the road, that's going to ride a little funny, so you don't want to do that. And I'll walk you through the process of putting these in. But the variants of that, as you can see, I've got what's called polyurethane bushes. They are hard as a rock, but they are a type of rubber. They're real firm. There's also some that have, some of them, depending on which one you get, have an adjustment in the middle, or some of them have them out at the end. That's the adjustable one. But they also come with different ends called heim joints. And basically it looks like a little round ball, round metal ball with a little swivel in the middle of it that allows it to rotate so that it fits up in the housing. And that's even more control over the way your rear end reacts, because it doesn't have the give that these polyurethane bushings will have. But with that said, it also makes the ride a lot more noisy and a lot rougher, because everything that goes through that rear end is transferred through the car into the heim joints, into the control arms into the framework to the car. Makes sense? So you have to figure out exactly what you're trying to accomplish. You have to figure out what you're willing to put up with. If you're willing to put up with some noise and rough rides, then by all means, the adjustable ones give you the best of everything. You've got the adjustability, you've got the control, you know, it's just, they're better than these per se, because you have the adjustability and there's no flex. So if you're trying to build that quickest street car in the world, or all-out drag car, that's what you need. But if you're going to be driving your car on the road, and mine is pretty much a daily driver, you need something like this. So let's take a look at this. Now don't be intimidated by this, because where it is located is behind your tires. So you're going to have to get your car up off the ground. Now luckily I can do mine a couple ways. I can back mine up to the edge of the concrete right there so that my tire is right at it and come in under that way. But I try to do things just as you would be doing it at home if you was doing it yourself. You can use wood, you can use old tires and wheels, you can use cinder blocks, whatever, I don't care. Just be careful, careful, and chalk your front tires up, because where they are, to be exactly precise, let me get down here and show you. You come under here and it locates the rear end to the right here. This is what we're going to be replacing, and I'll show you a better view of it. Now there are some tools that you're going to need and some safety equipment. First thing is, you need to get your car up off the ground, and you need to support it by the frame itself, because you do not need any weight on this axle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my floor jack. I'm going to jack it up and put jack stands under it, and you want to raise it up high enough to get the tires and wheels off the ground. You do not have to take the tires and wheels off the ground, but I am going to do so that I can show you better what we're dealing with. So I'm going to get mine up on jack stands and go from there. Okay, I've got the chalk under the front tire, I've got the jack stands under the frame, and I also have the jack not touching, as you can see, not touching, but it's just under the sway bar bushing, so that if anything would happen and that jack stand fails, the jack will be on the same side that I'm on and will catch the car. Because here is what we're going to be replacing. And as you can see, this is just a stamped piece, right? It's not solid or anything compared to this. Plus that's going to look really good on that red. But all you have to do, like I said, I didn't have to do this. I could have done it without taking the tires off, but it gives you better access and it makes it better for video purposes. You've got one bolt and nut. Here's the nut. The bolt is on the other side where the jack is. You got that one. And then let me get down here so I can show you the other one. There's the bolt, and then that's on the back side. And this may be a little bit of a pain, I don't know. There's a relief right here cut out, so I'm hoping that bolt will go in that relief. If not, we might have to do some fancy thinking. But these are 18 millimeters, both the nut and the bolt, so that's all you need. It doesn't matter if you use a ratchet or a wrench. I'm going to be using a ratcheting wrench and my 1/2 inch ratchet. So let's get this set up and get it started. Plus, another reason you want a jack, it doesn't matter what kind you have. Provide a little bit of support, because when you take these bolts out, that is what ties this rear end to the frame. So you don't want it just falling down once you take that out. The sway bar will hold it, but you still don't want it just falling down like that. So you want to put just a little bit of pressure up underneath that rear end. And what you're going to need to do is, once you get this put back together, you're going to need to let it down on its own weight, which means putting the tires back on, letting it down, and then crawl under and tighten those bolts back down. You do not want to tighten it up with it up in the air like this. It needs to be on ground or on jack stand. I mean, you could put the rear end on jack stands, or you can do car ramps, which I'm going to do. I'm going to put the tires back on, and I'm going to slide my car ramps up underneath it. Let the weight down, that way it's still up. I crawl under it, tighten those bolts down. Now here's what I was going to explain to you about the adjustable ones. As you can see, these are fixed. There's no adjustability in these at all. But the way you could tell if your rear end is not centered or anything, find a straight part. You can go from the center of your front hub assembly, or find a straight point on your car. In this case, I'm going to use the back part of the wheel well. I'm going to go from there to the right side of my hub, center of the hub. I'm going to measure it in both places. I've got 13 and almost a quarter here. Get it real tight. 13 and 5/8 is what I have. So I'll go to the other side and check that. Well, last time I had it in the air putting these rotors on, I checked it, so I know that I'm straight. My axle's straight. But if for any reason it was one side was back or forward, you could get the adjustable ones and be able to straighten that back up, so that your tires don't wear fast, they wear even, so that your car rides more true, runs more true, all that good stuff. But that's just, you know, if you need it. Some people like to spend the extra money and don't need it. Yeah, that's totally up to you. In my case, I don't need it, so I'm not going to spend the money, because it's like a $70 difference in price. So why spend it if I don't need it? I can save that money for something else, right? So let's get this taken care of. Get it out. Now you may need to put some penetrating grease, oil on it, like WD-40 or something along that line. And it looks like that's what I'm gonna have to do. Alright, I'm back. Got my PB blaster. Put a rag on it so I don't get it all over everything. Spray it, let it sit for just a second. Alright, you're going to need to put the other wrench on the back side if for some reason it doesn't want to break loose, because what it's doing is it's spinning. And then just work it out. Now I recommend, once you get this almost all the way out, to leave it in there and take a hammer and tap on the nut. But be sure to back it all the way out to where your threads are protected. take a hammer and just lightly tap that. Now you can see the bolt right here from the back side. Just use whatever you can to get up in there and kind of work it out. You may need 2 inches, you may need something a little, whoops, sorry, something a little bigger to act as a pry or a pivot point, and just work that out. Now, if for some reason you can't get it out, it's because it's got pressure on it, you know, just so slightly. So, or it might be twisted or cockeyed, so just take your ratchet or your wrench, whatever you have, and just back it out. Just try to remember to keep your hands and stuff out of pinch point areas. There we go. It's only that long. I always put the nuts back on because it's easy to lose a nut, but it's hard to lose a bolt that long. Now let's get up to the front and do that. This one shouldn't be as hard to get out. We're fixing to find out anyway. Let's find it. Oh, I am glad that relief was there. Would have never got it. Alright, here's the old, and this is the front piece. You can see they're hollow, and I won't be able to do it, but under a lot of load and stress and horsepower, these things will twist and torque and bend. And like I said, you can put a piece of metal, stock metal in here and weld it in, but it doesn't look good. I mean, it'll get the job done, and you won't even have to spend that much money. You know, just a piece of flat metal. Heck, you can get it at almost any scrapyard for free. But here's the new one. As you can see, it looks cooler, and it'll look cooler in the rear end. It's a lot more sturdy, and it sure is not going to twist. If you twist that, you have way too much horsepower, and you need something completely different than that. But yeah, let's get some grease on this because I don't want it squeaking when it's going down the road, and I'm going to show you something else. Alright, alright. These are the handiest, dandiest little things. You can get these at any AutoZone, Advance Auto, or anything, but what they are is caps for your grease fittings. They have different sizes, and they just snap on like that. But here's the cool thing, it's got a keeper built in too, so you can actually undo it, grease your fitting, and take it, snap it right back on. Do they look good on that red? Not really, but that's what I'm going to be using. And then I have my grease as well, because we need to put a little bit of grease on these sides so that we can get them in there and they don't squeak. It doesn't take a lot. A dab will do you, as they say. And come back and get all the excess off of that and go over here, and then just do the other end the same way. A little bit of grease, put a dab there, work it in. Like I said, this will aid in installing it in between that metal, and then it will also help with keeping any squeaks out. Now, you know me, being a neat freak I am, Wipe off any excess that got somewhere where you don't want it, because all it's going to do is collect dust. That looks good. Now, we are almost there. Almost ready to put these in. But first, you need to know how they go. Yes, there is a right way and a wrong way. This, ladies and gentlemen, where the grease fitting is, and that's the way you think it would go to help keep grease out of it. But, with that said, that is wrong. It actually goes this way. And let me show you why, and it'll make complete sense. It sits in that pocket, right? Sits in that pocket right there. How in the world are you going to get a grease gun in there to grease at? And the same back here. The grease fitting will be up underneath the axle housing itself. So how are you going to get a grease gun in there? So the grease fittings go down. There is no front or back. Doesn't matter, either or, but the grease fittings go down. So let's get to reinstalling. Now what I am going to do is, as you can see, there's rust on this. So there's a couple things I can do. I can take it and I can brush it off and all that good stuff. And that will work great. But how is me brushing the rust off this going to help the nut going on? So what I'm going to do is take some of my, I'm going to lay my rag down, take some of my PB Blaster, and just squirt it on there. Now what that will do is it penetrates on this, it kills all that rust that's on there. But as I put the nut on it, it will actually lubricate and get all the grease, rust out of the nut itself. It'll chase the threads. Plus it'll make the nut go on a lot easier. Okie dokie, here we go. I'm just going to lightly start it in the other end. Well, no, I better not. Let's just start it here. Same way it came out. Push it up till you see the pushing. Take the bolt. Let the washer fall off like I just did. Anyhow, put the bolt in and kind of wiggle it until it starts to go. And then just work it until it comes out the other side. Comes out the other side, run the nut up on it, but remember, do not tighten it down. Do not tighten it down. You can run it up as far as you want until it stops, till it catches, till you can't turn anymore, I don't care, but do not run that all the way in and tighten it, because we still got to do the other end. As you can see, I've already PB blasted this bolt also. Now we're just going to bump it until it starts to line up. Run the bolt. Let's see, the bolt came in from the back side. I'm going to be sure to do it the same way it came apart. There was a reason that they did it that way. What it is, I don't know, but there was a reason. Yeah, remember how it came out? That's how it goes back in. Put a little bit of pressure on the back of it and start running it in. Now once you get it started, you can kind of wiggle it in most of the way. There we go. Stick your finger around the other side and see if it's coming out, and if so, put your ratchet or your wrench on it and get it to where it goes to the other side. Once it starts coming out and gets a couple of threads on it, you can put the nut on it. And if it feels like it's not going, take your ratchet and lightly tap it through. Put the nut on it. Now there's this side. Now we're going to go around and do the other side same way. Alright, there's that side. Now remember, I haven't tightened anything up yet. I'm going to go around and do the other side. No need to make you having to watch me do it again. It's the same exact process as this. And then we'll come back and finish it up, because there's a few more things that you have to do. And yeah, you'll have to wait for that. Let me get on around there and do that other side. Okay, as you can see, got this side on. And I have this side on. It ain't hard. It literally took 5 minutes to put that on. It just takes longer when you're trying to run a camera. So what I'm going to do now, like I said, I'm going to put the tire and wheel back on it. And put that back on. I'm going to raise that up high enough to put the car ramp on it, and then I'm going to set it down on it. Take the jack stand out, go around, do the other side the same exact way, and then we will crawl under and tighten up those bolts and grease it, and we'll be done. hope you can see this okay. There's the bolt I was dealing with. Now we're going to finish tightening it up. Put the wrench on the other side this time because, well, we can't get to it with the ratchet. So we'll put the wrench on there. Socket on this side. And put it good and tight. The reason you do this is because by putting the weight back on the car, it's going to be at the right angle that it needs to be in. If you was to do this and then tighten it down without it having any weight on it, in other words setting there on the jack stands the way it was, it would actually make the rear end rise up a little bit, which that would make it come out of the hole a little bit better per se, but it would ride real funny and everything would be just kind of fishtaily going down the track, and you don't want that going down the road wherever you're doing it. So tighten it up good and tight, and while we're at this one, we'll go ahead and hit it with the grease. And all you gotta do is hit it a couple times. You don't have to hit it a bunch. Snap it on. There's one, there's two, there's three. I'll give it 3 good shots. Take it off. Wipe off all that excess grease. Again, that will attract dust, even with the cap on it, you know. You want it as clean as you can because that's how us car guys do, right? And again, you can get these little caps. AutoZone, Advance Auto, Napa, places like that. But you have to put it on upside down first. It doesn't matter which way you come in. It has to be on upside down, right? And then you fold it over. Dang it, come here, finger. Fold it over, and it snaps on itself, just like that. Now that's protected from mortar, that's protected from grease, that's protected, dirt, grime, everything. Now we'll slide up, do the front one, and grease it, and then we'll be done on this side. And that is all there is to that. A few tools, a grease gun, and the parts. And although you really can't see them except in certain light, you know they're there. Your car responds better, it launches better, it doesn't have that dreaded wheel hop, and it just makes it that much more proud to own it. But it is simple. It takes literally 15 minutes per side. The hardest part of the whole job is getting all the tools out and getting the car up. That's it. 15 minutes per side. Easily, I promise you. Don't let it intimidate you. It is super simple. Like, it just takes a few basic hand tools. You don't have fancy ratcheting wrenches or ratchets and sockets. 2 18mm wrenches or the equivalent in SAE. Either or, doesn't matter. And a jack. You don't have to have a fancy roll around jack. Any jack. Just something to get the car up off the ground. Because you cannot have any weight on this when you're putting those on. You just can't do it. You save the weight till the very final step. And now I got to go put all these tools up, clean up, get ready for dinner. But until next time, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it helps you. Get out there and do stuff like this yourself. It makes owning these cars that much better because you have a sense of pride in doing it yourself. It really is simple, I promise. So get out there and do it. I'll put all the information below in the description, and we'll see you on the road and in the next video. Thank you so much for stopping by.